Okay, today we are going to talk about something called interest. So what I need you guys to do, if you haven't done it already, make sure you have your notes out. Green on the left, notes on the right. All right, thank you, those of you who are ready to go. Okay, really quickly, while the rest of you guys are getting ready, I want to explain. We actually have two, it's being a block day, we're going to squeeze in two lessons, but what it really is, it's really one lesson, but I split it up into two lessons. It's basically off of one homework assignment. But I feel that I'm going to split it up into two lessons. Basically, I'm going to teach you something that's called simple interest, which is a 7th grade standard, and then I'm going to teach you guys, we're going to expand on it, and I'm going to teach you something called compound interest for the second part. Okay, so compound interest builds on the idea of simple interest. So what we'll do is we'll spend a lot of our time talking about simple interest, and then we'll kind of just have a second lesson and add on to it a little bit. So we'll explain that when we get there. Okay, so when it comes to simple interest, over the years I've taught this a lot, even going back to when I taught 6th grade. I found that it interests a lot of students because we see stuff like this in life as you get older all the time. Okay, it's in when, like, if we buy a home, you know, not for everybody, but for most people, it's when you buy a home. It could be when you buy a car. It could be just some people day-to-day living. Okay, so you can actually sit back, enjoy the story for the next, little bit of time. Put your pencils down, and then because what you'll see is I'm going to refer back to the story during the lesson. Okay, so I'll refer back to our story when we're talking about the different vocab. Okay, so here we go. A little story time. All right, so we'll use our imagination a little bit. Let's say today. Okay, today you got up, and being that it's only the second day back from vacation, you turned around and you were extremely tired. Your alarm didn't go off. You forgot to set your alarm because it's not part of our routines the last couple of weeks. And you got up late, and you ended up getting to school just in time. But I mean, they were talking. You're just like throwing clothes on and just getting to school, running to the car, running to school, depending on where you live. So you get to school. And you hang out with your friends before school starts, maybe for 30 seconds, and then you get to class. And while you sit down and you relax, you realize that your stomach is starting to talk to you a little bit. You got a little growling going on. And you realize, I forgot to eat something this morning. You didn't eat breakfast. And so what happens is first period, it's growling a little bit, but you can handle it. Second period is growling a little more, okay? And of course, I'm talking about a non-block day, all right? It's growling a little more, and you are, and you're starting to be bothered, but you think to yourself, you know what? I got this. Not a big deal. I'll just grab a snack at break from the snack bar. So you're sitting there. Second period ends. You go to the snack bar. You reach into your pocket, and you realize you also forgot your wallet at home. You have no money to buy anything to eat. Now you hang out with some friends, and the people that you hang out with at break, you ask them, you turn to them, and unfortunately, none of them have any extra money. They just have enough money for lunch. Now at this point, you start freaking out a little bit, right? So you go to third period, and you are so hungry that you ask your teacher if you could step out and use your cell phone really quickly, or you could even use a class phone to try to call home for someone to bring you either some food or some money for some food, because guess what? You don't have your wallet. You don't have money for lunch either. And there is no way with how your stomach's feeling that you're going to last all day long. Okay, so you turn around and you don't get a hold of anybody. You leave voicemails on whoever you think you can get a hold of that can bring you some money, and no one is picking up. fourth period comes around, by this time, like, you can't even focus in fourth period because your stomach is cramping so much. It's like you're bending over in your desk almost because it hurts. And so you realize it's hunger. You need to eat something. You have tried everything you can. Now, the problem is fourth period, you have acquaintances in your fourth period class who sit around you, but you wouldn't really consider them friends. It's not like you're going to go hang out outside of school, okay, or even outside of that class. You're not going to hang out with them on break. So they're very nice and polite, but you really don't know them very well, and they really don't know you. But at this point, you're desperate. So you turn to the person that sits next to you, and you ask that student, you say, man, is there any way by the way, how much is lunch now? $3. Okay. So $2.25. Okay, we'll say it's $3. You need $3. Okay. So $3. You turn to them and you ask, look, you tell them kind of the whole story. You're like, please, I need to borrow $3, please. Do you have $3 I can borrow? I'll pay you back tomorrow. I'll pay you back. And so they don't really know if you're good for it. I mean, they don't know if you're going to pay them back or not. Okay, you seem trustworthy. They like you, but they don't really know you. They don't know if they can trust you in that way. All right, and $3 just, that's enough money to worry about, not to just give someone. So they think about it for a while, and then they come back to you and they say, you know what? I'll make you a deal. I will give you $3 today, and you can eat your lunch. But tomorrow, when you come to class, you have to pay me back $4. And without thinking about it, you are starving, you make that deal. Okay? So, and you're good for it. You come back the next day, you pay them their $4. Okay? So they made a little extra money off of you. Now, fast forward about 5 or 6 years. Let's say you're a senior in high school. Okay? And you have like a little starter car. You're lucky enough to have a starter car. You're actually driving to school. You have a little job, but you have your own little things. Like you have to pay for gas. You have to pay for car insurance. Maybe you weren't able to pay cash for your car, so you have a little bitty payment. And you have a job that you're making money to do all these things. You don't have a whole lot of extra money, but you like hanging out with your friends sometimes at the mall or go to the movies. So you spend a little bit of money that way, and you don't have a big-time savings account because of this. So all of a sudden, something comes up, and you hear all of your peers, all the seniors are talking about it. What just came out was the new PS5. The PS5 just came out. And I tell you what, the PS5, you would not believe it. This thing, we are talking just the graphic, everything about it is so extremely real. It's like you're actually a real person when you're playing this video game. These guys look so real. The memory is unbelievable. Everything about it is it just blows your mind. Everyone loves it, and everyone's getting one. But you don't have the money to get it because your job only pays for your car, your gas, and your insurance, and a little bit of extra money. Now, you could actually probably save up and get a PS5 in about a year or so, but by then, no one's going to be talking about, you have to have one now. Okay? So someone tells you, they say, well, I tell you what, if you want one, I know of a way you can get one. So they explain to you a method to get one. So here's what you do. You go to your bank, nearest bank. They give you paperwork. You fill out paperwork. You sign your name. You turn it in. And about 3 weeks later, through the mail comes one of these. That is called a credit card. What is it? That is called a credit card. And so, guess what? You take your credit card. It's this fantastic, shiny new credit card. You go to the store. You go to Best Buy and you swipe that card. You take your PS5 home and you play it and you love it and it's fantastic. Okay? Now, the PS5, it costs, the PS5 will cost you $500. It's a little pricey, okay? But hey, state-of-the-art electronic gaming system, you know, you're like, oh, $500. Okay? Now here's the thing. What you don't understand is that that card, the bank who gave you the card is like your 7th grade person that sat next to you that gave you the $3 for lunch when you needed it. You didn't have the money for it at the time, and they loaned you the money. That's basically what they did. But in 7th grade, you had to pay a little extra money, right? You paid an extra $1. Okay? Now listen, you're not going to borrow $500 and expect to pay $501, okay, to this place. And as a matter of fact, you're going to end up, it's going to take you with your job about a year to pay it off, okay? Well, when you first get a credit card, here's what they do. They say, okay, we're doing you a favor, just like your 7th grade neighbor. They're going to say, you're going to do me a favor, and you're going to pay me more money back, but it's based off of a percent. You are going to be charged interest. And so with a credit card, as a young student that doesn't have a credit history, you're going to, and maybe you get a great rate for an 18-year-old, and you get a credit card that has 20% interest. And interest is always over 1 year. So here's what happens. It takes you 1 year to pay off your PS5. That PS5, you're paying 20% interest, you're going to have to pay the bank because 20% of 500, okay, is $100. Your PS5, you're going to have to pay them $500 for the PS5 that you borrowed, but you're going to have to pay them an extra $100 in interest in that year. Your PS5 just cost you $600. Okay, 500 with the extra 100. Now, some people might not be so lucky. You can't gain that extra $500 in 1 year. If it takes you 2 years, well, what will happen is you'll have $100 you have to pay for the first year, but that extra year, an extra $100. So now if it takes you 2 years, you might have to pay $700 for a PS5 rather than $600. So now all of a sudden you are paying extra money for that system. Okay. Now this is a very generalized idea of how interest works. That's why this lesson is called Simple Interest. Okay, because it gives you a good rough idea of how interest works. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some vocab words, and then we're going to go ahead and we'll see how it applies to some real problems and how you would find it out. Okay, so here's the very first word. The word is principal, everyone. Principal. Okay, this isn't like the principal of your elementary school or anything else, even though it's spelled the same. Here's what a principal is when it comes to interest. Now, the definition in your book says it's the amount of money in an account. Okay? Sometimes you could refer to it in our story. It was the amount of money that was borrowed. It was the $3 in 7th grade. Or it was the $500 your senior year. Okay? That is the principal. Now, because it says the amount of money in an account, I just want to say this as a little side note. You'll see it in your book, so it won't surprise you. Some people do what, I don't know if this is quite investing, but we'll call it investing. Some people invest money, which basically means they give their money to, let's just keep it simple, we'll say the bank. And the bank actually, for the use of your money, they actually pay you interest. Okay, now, they don't pay you 20% interest, okay? But they will pay you a little bit of interest. All right, so when it says the amount of money in an account, that's what it's talking about, like as if you put that money in the account and they're paying you interest, okay? So, but most of your problems will talk about like you borrowing money. The principal is the starting money, all right? That's just, we'll put it in a little box as a little reminder. It's the starting money. Again, it's the $3 or it's the $500, whatever that money that exchanged hands was, okay, from one person or organization to the other. All right, the next word is interest, everyone. All right, so the general term of interest is this is the amount of money paid or earned for the use of money. The amount of money paid or earned for the use of money. So, this is the extra favor money, meaning it's that extra dollar in 7th grade. That was the interest. Not the $5 or all $6. It was the $1. That's the interest. That extra money. Okay, or that extra $100 that you had to pay the credit card company. That was the interest. And then, last but not least, the name of this lesson, simple interest. Everyone? Simple interest. All right, so here's what the book says simple interest amount is. It says the amount of money paid or earned for the use of money. Of course, it is the same as interest. Here's what I want you to write down, though, and we're going to use it. It's a interest formula. All right? It's I equals PRT. You'll see us use that a lot, almost in every problem. Okay, it basically is all of these right here. I would be the interest. You find out the interest by taking the principal, multiplying it by the rate, which is the percent, and then multiplying it by the time that you borrowed. Okay, so remember how it went up at like $100 a year? Well, that's 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, depending on how long it takes you to pay it back. And remember, time is always in years. So a lot of times with credit cards, you'll hear the term APR. Okay, I have a 20% APR. That means you have a 20% annual percentage rate, which is just the interest rate you got to pay, the percentage of the interest that you got to pay back. Okay. All right, guys, before we get to examples, questions on the story, on the vocab, you're gonna see it basically like the word problems are gonna be like little stories like I just told for the most part.
So about the story, are you basically saying that credit cards are bad?
Okay, so right, I mean, there are a lot of questions that pop up during this lesson a lot of times, and if you and a lot of you guys in this class are math people, I'm a math person, I try not to pay interest. So if you can, you probably want to try to save money and pay cash for things because it saves you money in the long run, right? You don't have to pay interest. The more interest, or I should say the less interest that you pay, the better off you are, probably the smarter you are. Now, realistically, some people need a roof over their head, right? And if they plan on investing, or I should say buying property or buying a house, let's face it, your average house is probably about $250,000. I don't know about you. I don't have $250,000 in my savings account, okay, just sitting around like I'm making it rain with $250,000. Hey, I'll pay my cash, my house in cash. So now some people, though, I do know that some, people that will suck it up early in their life and they'll like rent, or they'll have some, they'll go in with some friends or people they know to be roommates, and they'll pay just a little bit of money and just have a really good job after college or whatever, start saving up a bunch of money, and then they'll save and they'll pay cash for a house. So it depends how you want to do it, but that would probably be a smart way. You pay cash for your house and you don't have any other house payment to worry about, because think about it, right? 20% interest and house payments are not 20% interest, they're less, but it's called your home mortgage is that payment you've got to pay with the interest. If you're talking about $250,000 and you're talking about percent on $250,000, you're talking about a lot of extra money you have to pay the bank. They make a lot of money off of you. So yeah, bottom line is, long story short, it's probably best that whenever you try not to have a credit card. There's a little trick with credit cards, and what I try to do with my family is I'll use my credit card and I'll pay it off at the end of every month. So it's like I don't have to carry cash with me, which is sometimes safer. Someone steals my wallet, I just cancel my card. And if I'm disciplined enough, I could pay my credit card off every month. And if you pay it off at the end of the month, you don't get charged interest. So that's a little twist. And with credit cards, they have like, how many of you guys have heard maybe your parents talk about like frequent flyer miles or some? If they're a couple of us. Okay, you earn points. So if I use my credit card for every charge I make, that's how they try to get you to use your credit card. You get a certain amount of points, and you can redeem those points. And sometimes we get a couple of nights of our hotel free going on our family vacation every year based off of using our credit card for a year or two. So I mean, if you kind of work it that way, we don't pay any interest in that way. But if you know that you're not good with money and you're not disciplined enough, then yes, I would not get a credit card. Okay. Anyway, other questions?
What's the difference between a credit and a debit card?
Great question. So I have a credit card here, right? And I also have this. This is a debit card. They look the same. This comes out, you are not borrowing money. This comes out of your checking account that is already in the bank. So when you swipe this, it takes automatically out of your checking. So you're not borrowing money. You're using your own money, but just using plastic to do it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, this you're borrowing money from the bank. This is money you already have. It's just saved in the bank, and it just transfers from the bank to the company.
What's the point of the check?
This kind of took the place of a check. So check is the paper version of this. So it's people used to write, and I still have a checkbook. My wife and I, we write checks and we send it in like through the mail. That's usually if you don't have. Some people use their debit to give the company the number and they take out of your debit account, but others just write physical checks, put it in an envelope, and send it through the mail. So it's just kind of a paper version of the debit card. It'll just come out of the money you already have.
So if you win the Powerball, and after you have to pay all the taxes, they give you it every year, right?
Yes.
Okay, so is that interest?
Well, I don't play the lottery because I feel like it, but so I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know that like a lot of times they'll pay you in like annual, sometimes they'll pay you monthly. I don't really know,
so
but
are they paying you interest?
More than likely not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know that for sure, but more than likely not. I do, guys. If you have any other questions, write it down. We probably should continue on with our lesson, right? But I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. But let's get going with some of our math problems. All right, good questions though. I know those kind of questions always pop up. So, all right. So here we go. Examples. Okay. So here's what I'd like you to do. Let's go ahead. If you haven't already done so, most of you guys already have it. Have your book out. Grab your piece of paper. And this is one of those I do kind of examples. I just want you to watch to start with. Okay, and I'll give you guys the 20, 30 seconds to copy it down here. Okay, but just, you can put number 10 on there if you want. Okay, so for number 10 on page 283, it says find the simple interest, round to the nearest cent if necessary. Okay, so number 10 just says $275 at 7.5% interest for 4 years. So you can think of it however you want. It's probably like you're borrowing $275. The company's charging you 7.5% interest, and it takes you 4 years to pay it back. Okay, so here is what I have. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to follow my interest formula. This helps you set it up. All right. Now they're asking you for the interest, so it stays there. The principal is the amount that was borrowed. It's $275. The rate is the percentage rate. Remember, anytime, like we've been doing, anytime you use an equation, you change the percent to a decimal version. So 7.5, move the decimal over 2 times, right? Becomes 0.075. The time it takes you to pay it back is 4 years. Remember, the time is always in years, so I'm going to put 4. And if I take 275 and multiply it by 0.075, this is going to tell me how much interest I'm going to have to pay in 1 year. I have 20.625. Now, I'm not going to round yet because I'm not done, but just thinking about it, if I was to round, I would have $20.63 to pay in interest. That's the extra money I'd have to pay back. in 4 years. Okay? Now, I'm sorry, per year. Okay? But I can't forget my 4 years. Okay? So as soon as you do your principal with your percentage rate, that's in 1 year. Then you take that number, multiply it by how many years, of course, and that will tell you this is 82.5. I make it look like money, and in 4 years I'd pay a total of $82.50. Okay, if I borrowed $275. Now, I mean, compare those two, right? Look at that. I mean, that's not quite half, but you could think of it as a third or whatever of that. I mean, that's just in interest. So now they're not asking you to see how much you'd have to pay the bank back. They're just asking you for your interest, which is 2 days. If they asked you how much you have to pay the bank back, you would take the interest and add it with the money you borrowed to begin with. Okay, so you'd add those two, but that's not what this one's asking. Okay, so any questions on this type of problem? This is a very basic problem, but that's kind of what we're doing today. Okay, 20-30 seconds, guys. Just quickly copy that down, and we'll move on to the next problem. And this one we'll actually take notes on. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at problem number 12. We're going to do this one together. All right. So problem number 12, same directions, finding the simple interest. It says $734 at 12% for 3 months. So here we go. Step 1 is write down your interest formula. Step 2, like most formulas, plug in your numbers. So the interest we're finding out, the principal, they said, is $734. The rate, which is the percentage, is 12%. So don't forget decimal version, 1200s, 0.12. And the time, now, remember what I've been saying 2 or 3 different times. Annual percentage rate, or in 1 year, annual. However, take a look. It's 3 months. So if I put 3 here, that would say 3 years. So here's how you're going to work around this. Okay? You're going to go ahead, and this is the simplest way. Let me just start by saying this. This is the simplest way. What fraction of a year is 3 months? 3 months. How many months are in a year?
12.
How many months are they talking about?
3.
3/12 of a year. 3 months is 3/12 of a year. Now, before you calculate, I heard some people say it, okay? If you want to, it doesn't work on all of them, but if you want to, you can keep the reduced type of fraction. So 3/12, right, is the same as 1/4. Now, some of you at this point say, well, Miss Wilkins, can I convert it into a decimal? Yes, but for the sake of this problem, I am not going to. Why? Because you can't do that on all fractions. And you need to have the skills to be able to do this problem using either one of these fractions, so using 1/4 in this case. Okay? So here we go. Step 3. We're going to keep this simple. We're going to simplify. We're going to simplify this right side. So here's what we're going to do. First thing is I'm going to find out how much would it be in 1 year. 734 times 0.12 equals, and I have 88 $88.08, which is $88.08. Now, the problem is we need to multiply that with 1/4. So if you have a fraction, here's how you do it. You change this decimal into a fraction as well by putting it over 1. And then you multiply straight across. 88.08 times 1 is 88.08. 1 times 4 is 4. And ladies and gentlemen, ultimately, it's just a division problem. 88.08 divided by 4 equals, and we end up with the interest being 22.02. Step 4 is make it look like money. In this case, it's already looking like money except for our dollar sign. So $22.02 in 3 months. That's how much interest we would have to pay if we borrowed $734. Okay, questions on any of those steps, especially the months part? It's always easy just to put it over 12. Start there. Reduce it if you can. Don't reduce it if you can't. And if you can, change it to a decimal. Please do not change it to a decimal and round the decimal. You have suddenly altered your answer. You don't want to do that. To make it easier, we can punch it in the calculator without doing this extra work. So do not do any rounding until the very final answer, okay, if you need to round. Okay. All right, guys, questions? All right, here we go. Problem 14. Try out problem 14. Go. Okay, how many of you need more time? Okay, check in with you guys in about 20 more seconds. Bless you. Okay, guys. All right, 30 seconds. Go ahead and turn to your neighbor and share. Go.
$16.
All right, so here we go. Looking for an answer out there. All right, so if you borrowed $1,200 at 6% interest for 36 months, how much interest would you have to pay? So here we go. Seed 8. $200. I'll put it over here. $216. Agree, disagree? Okay. Most agreements. All right. Guys, any other answers out there you want to share? All right. Well, let's check it out. See if you guys are right. So, I equals PRT. We have the interest. We have the principal, which is 1,200. We have the rate, right? Percent as a decimal. 6% is 0.06, right? And the time is, well, it's funny, right? Because if you would have written, oh, it's in months, you would have put 36 over 12. You realize, what is that, guys?
3 years.
Yeah, it's 3 years. Okay. So, we turn around and we say 1,200 times 0.06 equals, so in 1 year it would be $72. We multiply by 3, and the interest would be 72 times 3, 216. Make it look like money, and you have your answer. All right, questions on that one? Okay. Now, we do have one more type of problem I want to show you guys in this part of the lesson. So, let's go ahead and let's take a look. Same page. Let's look at problem number 5. Okay, it says, Mateo's sister paid off... Actually, let's close read this. Okay, it says, Mateo's paid off her student loan of $5,000 in 3 years. If she made a payment of $152.35 each month, what was the simple interest rate for her loan? Round to the nearest hundredth. Okay? So, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with our steps. Interest equals per, keep saying percent. It's principal times rate times time. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is plug in the numbers. Now, this is the part where you have to be careful, all right? Because this is a higher level thinking problem, a little bit anyway. So, first of all, the time is clear. It's 3 years. What's the principal? Meaning how much was borrowed? $5,000. Look what the question says. What was the simple interest rate for her loan? Meaning, ladies and gentlemen, the rate is what we need to figure out. Now, there is another little twist. Now, this is a 7th grade type problem except for this last twist to it. Usually, it will tell us how much interest was paid. They don't tell us that. So, we don't have a number to plug in for I yet. We have to do a little side problem to find out how much interest was paid. Well, the way we find that out is we have to find out how much more over the $5,000 was paid, right? That Mateo's sister had to pay. So what they do tell us is how much her monthly payment was each month, right? Monthly payment. It's $152.35. Oops, $152.35 is in 1 month. Now, this is kind of funny because we just did a problem like this. That is for 1 month. How long did she get this loan for? 3 years, which is 36 months. If this is 1 month, what do we need to do with this in 36? Multiply it by 36. And that will tell us how much total amount of money she had to pay on this loan. So, $152.35 times 36 equals, she ended up paying $5,484.06, which is 60 cents. Now be careful, that still is not the interest. Who can tell me what was the interest that she paid? Yeah.
$400
How'd you figure that out from here?
From subtracting 5,000 from it.
Yeah, you guys, you have to take away the principal, right? She does that. That's the principal. That's how much she borrowed. She has to pay that back, of course. But if you take that away, that tells how much she paid an extra $484.60 in those 3 years. That is her interest. $484.60. So, I guess we can say this is step, we can call this, I'm doing the same steps here, but we can call that step star, meaning that we had to do like the little extra. We had to find out how much she paid total and subtract the principal from it to get the amount of interest, the money, that favor money, right? That's what the I is, that's the interest. She had to pay the bank an extra $484.60 in those 3 years. Okay, before I go any more, because we're going to now have the main meat of this problem, are there any questions on that? Okay, so step 3, I guess I should have had simplify or solve, because in this case, this is an equation that we have to solve. Now, before we solve this, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rewrite my 484.60 and my equal sign, but I have 5,000 times R times 3. I can use, and I just taught properties to my Math 7 class today, I can use the associative property of multiplication to solve this or simplify this side. Meaning that since it's all multiplication, it's okay to multiply these two and leave the R alone. 5,000 times 3 is 15,000 times R. Or in this case, I'll just change my R to lowercase to make it look like a variable. So I just multiplied those two right there. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this is a one-step equation. So I need to find out what R is. So it's being multiplied with 15,000. I divide by 15,000 here and here. And those cancel out. We end up with R, meaning the rate. And this, let me punch this in, 484.60 divided by 15,000. Make sure you don't put too many or too less zeros in. And here's what I end up with. 0.032306, and it just keeps going actually. Sorry, there you, oh, sorry. I thought you meant you can't see the calculator. There you go. Now, okay, be very careful. Remember, this is an equation. That's the decimal form, not the percentage form. So to change this to a percent, I need to move my decimal over 2 times. And so, ladies and gentlemen, my rate, or her rate, should be 3, I don't know where the 8 came from, 3.23. Now, does it say to round on that? Round to the nearest hundredth. So if I take a look up here, the 3 is the hundredth, the 0 makes it stay the same. So guys, the interest rate was 3.23% on her loan. Okay, this is a little more of a challenge because you had to do this little extra problem to find out what the interest was in that part. But this, like I said, is the main part of the problem in that way that it doesn't always just give you the 3 and say, oh, I just multiply all the numbers all the time. That's not the case. You have to find out what the problem is giving you and you have to solve for what's missing. And again, if you have solved for the rate in the equation, don't forget, right, that last part. Okay, and we've talked about that before, but make sure you change it to a percentage form, okay, from the decimal. Okay, questions on that problem? I'm going to have you try one that's similar. Any questions? All right, go ahead and try out, same page, problem 16. Problem 16, go. By the way, guys, don't forget to get your log sign. It's the first week of the semester, so make sure you get those points. It'll be due the next time we see each other. You guys finish early, continue on with some of your other homework on simple interest. How many of you need more time on that problem? Okay, all right. You guys got another 15, 20 seconds there? Okay. All right, 30 seconds. Go ahead and turn to your neighbor and share. Go.
I got 4%.
Okay. Here we go. Looking for an answer. All right. Not seat 40, seat 22. 4%. Agree, disagree? What do you guys think? 4%. Well, a lot of agreements. All right. Anyone else have a different answer they want to share? Okay. All right. Let's check it out. All right. So, where is it? Thomas borrowed $4,800 to buy a new car. There's a principal, all right? He'll be paying $96 each month for the next 60 months. Find the simple interest rate for his car loan. So, I equals PRT. It's very similar to the last one we just did, right? So, the principal was how much he borrowed, which we said was $4,800. The rate, we don't know. The time, it says, is 60 months, which I know, yeah, some of us already know too. That's 5 years. If you put 60 over 12, right, then you could just divide it and find out it's 5. We don't know how much interest, but we do know how much he pays every single month, so we use that to find the interest. So over on this side here, I go ahead and take a look, and it says he pays $96 for 60 months. So basically $96 a month times 60. So if you're to do that, 96 times 60 equals $5,760. Well, the fact that he borrowed $4,800, the difference would be the amount of interest. So $5,760 minus $4,800, and that's $960. So now I solve for R. I start by, of course, multiplying or simplifying the 4,800 times 5, and that gives me 24,000 times R. In this case, I'll just change it to a variable again, equals 960. And just like over here, right, we solve for R. It's being multiplied with 24,000, so we do the inverse. We divide by 24,000. With an equation, you do the same thing to both sides. So those cancel. We end up with R equals 960 divided by 24,000 equals, and we end up with 0.04. That's a lot easier than that last one we had, right? Because changing it to the rate, you move the decimal over twice, and we get 4%. All right. Nicely done, most of you guys. All right, questions? Okay, that is bottom line for simple interest.